Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and this is the iPhone 5C. This has been in constant use, or at least it was for 2.5 years, and it's been out for about 3 years now. It came out on September 20th, 2013. So it's been over 3 years by a few months, and it came out alongside the iPhone 5S. And the 5S is actually the upscale model, and then to give Apple users the alternative of a lower priced model, they came out with the 5C. And it came in a multiple or a variety of colors. This is obviously blue. They had a yellow and a white and a couple other colors as well. And it actually has the iPhone 5 specs in it, but with a little bit bumped up camera. So this is an 8 megapixel camera on the back, you have a 1.2 megapixel camera on the front, and then you have Apple's A6 processor, which is basically a dual core ARM processor running at 1.3 gigahertz. Now, being in constant use, it's held up pretty well. It always had a screen protector on the front. It doesn't now, but it has no scratches whatsoever, and it's always had a glass screen protector up until recently. If you look around the sides, you'll see obviously it's plastic, and it feels better than the iPhone 3G and 3GS. It held up better, and it's ceramic as well, or has more of a ceramic feel to it rather, because it has a hard coating on it, so it gives it more of that feel. Now, I don't really care for the plastic compared to the metal, but depending on whatever your preference is, I know some people really like this phone. Now, the switches and everything held up really well. You'll see the volume buttons, they work fine, they still click well. The vibrate switch works fine. The sleep wake button works good. And then on the bottom, all the ports work fine. Your lightning port, your headphone jack and speaker, they're all working just fine, and your microphone here. So I really haven't had any issues whatsoever with this. It's never been to Apple for a repair, anything like that. So let me go ahead and unlock it. This is running iOS 10.2. And this particular phone has actually been dropped a couple times, and you can see on the bottom, it's got a couple dents in it. And it was protected in a case, so this took the brunt of those dents, but that was it. So the phone is running iOS 10.2 and seems to run it okay. Now, obviously you don't get the Touch ID, you don't get the 3D touch on the display, but everything else seems to be okay. So if I open the camera, it comes right up. Not as fast as the newer phones, the 7 Plus, but it comes right up. We can just snap a photo, and it seems pretty quick. And it runs just fine when you're doing simple, regular tasks like that. Now, if I want to go into multitasking, sometimes it's a little bit slow, sometimes it's nice and fast. So you'll see there, it's nice and quick. If I go here and swipe it off, it's fine. But other tasks aren't so fast compared to the new devices. So if we go over here, we'll go into games over here. Let's load Minecraft. Let me make sure it's closed on both. That's open on this one. Let's close it out and we'll try one more time just to give you kind of a real world view. And you'll see it's kind of hiccuping now, so it slows down a little bit. And let's load it one more time. So I'll close this one, do this, come back, and we'll load it. And you'll see this popped up at about the same time as that, just by closing it out and reloading it. And let's go to play. We'll create new and random, and we'll hit play and see how long it takes. Just to give you an idea of the actual speed of both of them and how much faster a 7 Plus might be over a 7. So you'll see that already did what it needed to do. We're in. We can move around. Move forward. It's nice and fast, and we're still waiting for it. So this is where you're going to see the biggest gains with the newer phones over the old ones. Now, it's going to be playable, but it does take an awful long time for the processor to do the same thing that this one does that much faster. And that's just 3 years, 4 years time of speed. So there, we're finally in. You'll see it's drawing everything out, and then we can finally move. So once you're in, it's completely playable. But until then, it just slows everything down. So there's a big difference when it comes to things like games and those type of apps. If you're just doing simple things when it comes to, say, messaging or any of those things, it's going to be fine. You're going to see a little bit of slowdown when it comes to the keyboard, though. So if I go into the keyboard, we'll go into a note. And now we're going to create a new note, and I'll just say, hi, how are you? And you saw it was a little bit slow. And sometimes it will do that just because of the slower processor that's in here. I'm fine. How are you? So it seems to keep up okay, but once in a while you'll get that occasional hiccup. You still sometimes even get that on the newer phones, but it's not very often. And this seems to be plenty fast in most ways or most things you're doing. Now, when it comes to anything we've had wrong with this particular device, I would say the battery has been the biggest concern. The battery is really something that doesn't seem to last very well anymore, and is one of the reasons why this isn't in regular use anymore. Now, I could replace the battery, and that's pretty simple to do. You just take off these two screws, or take them out, put a suction cup on here, pop it out, and then disconnect a couple cables, and you just replace the battery and then put it all back together. It's not really that hard to do and pretty inexpensive when you want to buy a battery, say on Amazon or something like that. And I can link that in the description just so you can check that out. It's usually $20 or less. Most of the time, way less than that. So that's not too big of a deal. And I know Apple had some issues with the iPhone 5 batteries and the 5Cs, depending on what model they were. But this has never actually had a problem. It's never been to Apple for repair, anything like that. And it's worked pretty well the whole time. The only other complaint is really storage. That's what I heard the most. It just didn't have enough, so I should have gotten, instead of the 16 gigabyte model, should have gotten the 32. Other than that, it's still a solid phone, especially for someone that doesn't have an iPhone and just wants to buy a cheap one that's used on eBay, Craigslist, or if you can get one new, that's great too. But basically, it's a great little phone, especially if you've never had a smartphone before. If you've got something like an iPhone SE, or you have an iPhone 7 or 6, you're going to be disappointed going back to it. But it's a great phone. Otherwise, if you're upgrading from a 3 or 4, 4S, this is going to be a great phone for you to use. So it just depends on what you've got now. But other than that, it's been great. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Do you have a 5C? Are you still using it? Maybe it's your favorite one. Let me know in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe and like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.